Later on in the show, a little shout out to David over there in IT Corner getting this stuff all squared away. We are back in studio as we are every Thursday evening here on Facebook Live and, of course, our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked us out on our YouTube channel, go ahead and give it a go, because if you subscribe, you will never miss anything that we're putting out there. And a lot of content is being pumped out weekly and daily, and, of course, will continue throughout the summer as we get extremely busy. So go ahead and check us out there. Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Pacific Commons, located in Puyallup, Washington, and we thank them for that. Barnum, first show back in the studio since our little road trip. What do you think?
That was fun. It's good to be back in the studio. Much more controlled environment, much easier technologically.
And
right.
That we don't have a bunch of drunks walking through, but it was a good time. If you caught our show down there live from on location in Ilwaco at the Tuna Club, we had a fantastic time. Great people to hang around. Really, really great event. We do apologize for the audio issues that we were experiencing that day and into that evening, but those are quickly being resolved for our next event, which is coming up, which we'll delve into a little later. That too will also be down in Ilwaco and will involve a whole bunch of tuna and a whole bunch of similar same faces, albeit a lot of different ones as well. Well-attended event, upwards of 400 or 500 folks. That one's going to be exciting. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Well, with that, we are here tonight. I want to tell you now, before we forget later, that we are taking next Thursday off, 4th of July. We want to make sure everybody has a happy and safe or insane 4th of July. I'll be at work. Barnum's going to be over on the east side enjoying the property and the family. So whatever you got going on for the 4th, enjoy. We're not putting anything out there. We're going to leave you guys alone for an evening and enjoy the holiday as well. So we are live tonight, as we are each and every Thursday, 6 p.m. right here on Facebook and our YouTube channel, and we will take next week off to reconvene. What will it be? The 11th, I guess. Yeah. July 11th we'll be back. So, but before we get there, we got a ton of information to get through this evening, and we're going to start it off with what's going on around Puget Sound and Northwest and beyond. Barnum, there was an interesting discussion you and I had over this last week when we were on the road and whatnot. We had mentioned it previously that there was that seal that came into the shallows down in California, grabbed a hold of that young teenage girl's knee, and kind of drug her into the surf a little bit until it let go.
Right. So just a reminder on that, down at Pismo Beach, California, there was a girl in the surf. Parents were videoing her, and a sea lion came up and actually grabbed her by the thigh in the wake. Sea lion supposedly was suffering from a domoic acid poisoning.
Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And the sea lion was captured by California Fish and Wildlife and is being treated as we speak.
Oh, so it has not been returned to the wild yet?
Not that I can find, doing my digging, trying to get an update on the story.
But it's being nursed back to health.
Yes.
Because we need more California sea lions out there predating on, well, apparently fish and small children. Right. Right?
Domoic acid poisoning is normally caused by overconsumption of shellfish that have consumed algae that has high levels of domoic acid and causes the person or the sea lion or whatever gets it to act erratically and crazy, and it causes nerve damage, basically, is what happens.
Yeah, but they're going to nurse back to health a sea lion that has potentially nerve damage.
Right.
That's a great plan. Yeah. Whereas in comparison, there was a story that broke last week. There was a black bear, a young black bear, older than a cub, right? Down in Oregon, Lake...
Hague Lake.
Hague Lake.
Yep, like to hang out at the boat launch at Hague Lake. Bear was around 100 pounds, 2 to 3 years old, they're estimating. And it became habituated to people feeding it. People would go there and give it trail mix, sunflower seeds, whatever, and it became a pretty popular thing for people to take selfies with this bear.
He was comfortable with the fact of people walking up and in close proximity. Right. Were they able to touch it? Did you see any pictures? I didn't find any pictures.
I never saw any pictures of.
They're grabbing selfies with the bear. Bear's in the background eating food. They're taking pictures of this. Right. And because the bear became so comfortable around humans and being just there and not having a care in the world, they captured it.
Yep. They originally set out to relocate it and decided that when Oregon Fish and Wildlife officers got there and were going to do the capture, they realized that we don't need to trick this bear into capture. We can literally walk right up to it.
Put a collar around it and walk it into the back of the truck.
So they made the decision that once a bear becomes this habituated to humans, that they don't consider it to be safe for release. So they made the decision to shoot the bear.
So they euthanized it.
Yep.
Well, basically they killed it.
Right.
So down in California, where they do everything perfect,
right,
they have a California sea lion they were concerned with demonic acid brain rot going on. Right. Probably ingested that from chewing on a teenager's knee.
Right.
And they are nursing that one back to health because God forbid if we fall short of 300,000 sea lions and cross that bridge of 299,999.
Right. We're probably at like 399.
Probably. In Oregon, we have a bear that's become accustomed and comfortable with hanging out with humans, and
just wants to take selfies.
Just wants to be on social media, so they kill it.
Right.
Interesting concept.
So
I would like to see it the other way around, personally.
Right. And it's just again, this is how. In the United States, with the way the wildlife management's set up, each state has their own, laws that they follow.
Sure.
I'm sure each little sub-region kind of has its own way of handling certain situations, and you're seeing kind of a weird display where an animal that attacked a human we're going to, teach it to be better.
Yeah.
And then an animal that, has been fairly harmless, not to say that it won't turn into a bad situation.
I could see where they're going with that and, preventing something in the future or an encounter. But there's plenty of bears in captivity.
Right.
There's plenty of, is that me or you?
I don't know.
There's plenty of bears in captivity that, you would think they could find a circus or something.
Right.
Now, I mean, that's not a great life for a bear either.
Right.
But just because it enjoyed the company of humans, they, unfortunately had to kill it. So just a comparable of how we're managing our predators, so to speak,
right.
one in the ocean.
I guess the reminder for viewers would be, don't feed wildlife. Like, don't, you show up at a boat launch and there's a bear standing there, maybe don't go break into the trail mix and try to hand feed it, take pictures with it.
Like, get close up and personal.
Eventually, that behavior is going to kill the animal.
Or somebody else in the process.
Right.
And then they are forced to kill the animal.
Right.
So interesting encounters this week in various states, again, with animals or mammals deemed predators, So, okay, moving on. I want to remind you all that Kids Steelhead Days installment number 2 is coming up. That is Saturday, July 6th. It'll be at, of course, the Reeder Ponds, once again on the Skycomish River from 6 a.m. till noon. Kids 5 years old to 14, I believe, is the updated info that came out on a latest slide there, or photo on Facebook. It's a great morning to afternoon opportunity to get kids exposed to steelhead fishing. They provide all the gear, or you can bring your own, but you must have a fishing license and a punch card or retention card for steelhead. This is summer on steelhead. The folks there at the Snohomish Sportsman's Club have done a fantastic job. Mark Spada, we talked to him several weeks ago after the first installment of this opportunity. They had a great turnout, 67 or 72 kids, something like that. Really great morning to afternoon they had. They serve up hot dogs and drinks and have a really good time. Expose kids to fishing, as that's the future generation. If we can get them in on steelhead fishing, everything else is easy after that, Barnum, right? So contact Matt Kennedy for more info, 206-876-0224. All the information is on our Facebook page, and/or you can simply Google Snohomish Sportsman's Club, and you're going to come up with all the information relative to Kids Steelhead Days. And that's another event. I wish we had time to run up there just to kind of hang out and talk to kids and take photos or video or whatever, but we do not. So if you are able to get out on that event, get some kids fishing, please post up photos on our Facebook page. We want to share in that experience vicariously through you. If we get some kids that catch their first steelhead, don't be alarmed if we try to track them down and maybe get them to talk on the show and let us know what it was all about or how it went. So
one of our viewers actually had a really good idea. Mike Kimbrough just posted, I want to feed the seals and sea lions and take selfies with them. Maybe they'll get them shot. So all you fishermen out there,
that is a brilliant plan.
Overpopulated sea lions. This fall in Astoria, make sure you get all the selfies you can get.
If we want to make sure we seal the deal, get them to balance a ball on their nose, and it's a slam dunk. That will go down, right? So let's make that happen. Okay, we're going to jump out of our normal routine here, only due to time restraints. We're going to get a gentleman on the phone that you're all very familiar with, as he has to catch a plane here. Right. Don't want to get in the way of Mike's touring around the world as you are. We're going to go ahead and talk with Mike Ainsworth, buddy of ours, First Light Guide Service. We've had him on before, but right now, if you're not aware, the coho fishing up in Area 10 is absolutely off the hook. Resident coho, now people go, well, they're not that big, they're not worth going after. But maybe after us talking with Mike, he's going to change your mind because the fishing is really good. The fish are extremely red to the cut and a lot of fun to get out and do. Mike, you got us with you? No, we're going to pull up Mike. Okay, so we're going to wait till we get him on the phone, and we will jump to the next topic of discussion, additional days for halibut, Barnum. How about that?
Yeah, and it's working out great for you, right?
For us, because me and part of the crew, and again, trying to get us all on the same page is difficult at times, but we have myself and David and Sean Christensen from Buck King Outdoors is going to join us, and my son Jordan. And we're going to head out with a friend of ours, Ben Overmars, on Saturday.
Right.
And we're going to go out to Westport. We have an extra day or opportunity for halibut.
Wow.
And we are going to take advantage of that. Originally, when we scheduled this trip, Ben wanted to get us out fishing. Right. It was going to be salmon, maybe some shallow lings and some bottom fish, but they threw in that extra halibut day, so we're going to go for deep water lings. We're going to go for halibut primarily, and then we'll see what else the day can give us. But sorry you can't go,
I know,
buddy.
That's going to be a really fun trip, and I'm sure the fishing's going to be phenomenal. I mean, we'll cover the ocean and the weather report here later on in the show, but you might not need to take Dramamine if you get my drift.
Excuse me. Okay, we got Mike on. Mr. Ainsworth, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I am doing just good, sir.
Are you sitting at an airport waiting for a plane while we bother you? Is that what's going on?
I don't think you're really bothering me. I'm just sitting here sipping on a cocktail and waiting for that plane to show up. So.
There you go. Well, before you bust out of town here, wanted to pick your brain a little bit on Area 10. That resident coho fishery seems to be performing pretty well. I too plan to hit up theirs next week and start chasing after those guys. We do have some of them down here in Area 13 as well that's starting to pop too, but let's focus on Area 10. You've been out there poking around, finding a few. How's the fishing?
Yeah, I did a couple trips here end of last week, and that was really good. I don't even know what time we got done. It was pretty quick, to say the least. 6 limits in pretty much no time at all. And such was the case last season too. So it's kind of staying on par. Area 13, I want to say, those fish usually start down in that neck of the woods earlier in the season and then start kind of migrating their way out. And I think the mass abundance of them kind of hang out in Area 10 just because of the structure, and they're good area for bait. So that's why I think this time of year we typically do pretty well for them there.
So with the ocean opener this week, I know that some of the reports were saying those fish in the ocean have been averaging like right around 3 to 3.5 pounds. What size average are you seeing on these resident coho?
Yeah, right about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, anywhere between 2 to 4 pounds is kind of what you can kind of expect. Obviously not the biggest fish in the world, but Dwayne is one of them that drives 3-4 hours to catch kokanee that are 12 to 14 inches. So you can catch 2 to 4 pound fish right in your backyard and not have to burn as much gas. And they are incredibly tasty. And we kept a few myself and the family, and obviously for those on the barbecue as soon as we got home, and you can't hardly beat them.
Extremely red meat due to their dietary intake predominantly of krill. They're scrappy little fish. They chase your presentation right to the surface. We've gone after them a couple different ways out there. Mooching is a kick in the pants, but I know if you're running a charter, Mike, you're pretty much on the troll. So mooching's a different topic altogether that we may get into. But as far as folks thinking about heading up there out of Area 10, Shoal, or one of the other launch opportunities, what are we trolling? What size of spoons or little hoochies? Are we trolling with flashers, and what size, and some of the colors and presentations that are performing?
Yeah, myself, I'm a big spoon guy. I really love trolling spoons, just for the sheer fact of if they get hit a couple times, you don't have to reel up your gear, check it out. They're just extremely effective. The size of the bait this time of year is usually running pretty small, so I'm running smaller spoons. The hoochies definitely work. I run them myself. A few of my colleagues out there really like running them. So add a strip of herring to that, and it's pretty effective. This last weekend I was running cut plug right off the downrigger. No flasher. I have the rudder that I attach to the downrigger ball.
The inline rudder.
Fish in. Yep, that attracts fish in to come see what all that glowing is, and then long and behold, the cut plug is dancing around back there, and running pretty light gear right now for them, which is nice. Being that they are small, so I'm only running like a 6 to 12 pound outfit, and when you hook into those little buggers, on that straight herring and hook, it's a pretty good time. But yeah, the spoons, obviously, throwing that behind a dodger or flasher is definitely key to get that fish in there. A lone spoon will work for coho just because of how aggressive they are, but it's always good to have that flasher or dodger in there to draw them in from a long distance away. I've been using the blinky flashers, the pro trolls.
Yeah.
Those really seem to be getting a lot of attention, especially as you go down deep, which will really come in key later in the season. Right now, it's not too prevalent to drop down that deep. Although in the afternoon, I have been dropping down a little bit deeper into that 75-foot marker and picking up fish there. But typically when you're doing that, you're also finding a few kings in the mix there as well.
Right. What speeds are you trolling? Are you trolling with the current, against it? And do you adjust your speed for the different presentations, say it be the hoochie or the spoon or the cut bait?
Being that, we're really targeting those coho, I don't go too slow. It's usually like a minimum of 2 miles an hour.
Okay.
And above. With that said, I don't adjust it. If I'm throwing a cut plug on there,
okay.
I brine them up pretty well, so they seem to hold together pretty well. Just using the Posse Spryer brine. I like to cut plug them the night before. That way they get a real good firm, cut to them, and that keeps them from ripping apart.
That front, excuse me, that front edge, you firm that front edge up after you cut it, so you cut them first, then throw them in the brine. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And you can do it the day before, but if you're going to do that and you're going to be trolling faster speeds with herring, it's best to use a helmet. It's just going to keep you from having those guys blow out on you and having to rebait or run them whole, which I do a lot of. I've been running the red labels right now, being that they are smaller, but oranges that running whole orange herring would be, terrific out there right now.
Sure.
As the fish are getting bigger, and they're definitely going to, start keying in more on that herring and the bigger baits right now. Krill is always their go-to, but they can't resist a cut plug herring for sure.
Are you having to go as deep on cloudy days versus sunny days? You start out in the morning at a certain depth and chase the light on down, 10, 15 feet every half hour or so for some folks is kind of a general rule. Cloudy days, are we still having to drop down to 75 at some point?
No, the first couple trips I did out there with my customers, it was cloudy pretty much all day, and I don't think we dropped below 50 feet. The afternoon when I had my family out there, the sun did poke out, so we weren't getting a lot of action, so I just started dropping them down.
Yeah.
Every 15, 20 minutes, drop them down another 15 feet, and it's that's the name of the game, is just going out there and scouting. If you're not finding them, don't hesitate to drop them down to 100 feet. You'd be amazed, to find those little guys down there that deep, but they definitely will move around. The krill, will move up and down in the water column, due to the light. So
yeah,
that's the name of the game with any fishery, is find the bait, find the fish.
How key is it to figure out which tide you're fishing? Are we fishing the income and the outgo? Any production at high or low slack? What's your preference?
For coho, I've never played the side game. I've never found it to be an issue. Kings are a little more particular when it comes to the side game, but coho are not so much. I like to run across the current versus with it, and just zigzag back and forth, usually east to west, and it's always done well for me.
Yeah, I've seen you out there doing that. Basically, you're crossing the current. You're just, as we've talked in the past, Mike, you feel like you're getting it in front of more fish because they're nosing one direction or the other into the current, and you just happen to be dragging it in front of them crossways, which you get it in front of more fish. Ultimately, at the end of the day, is your theory, right?
Yeah, and I've talked about this, I think, with you and other clients as well. You know, my analogy is think about walking down a busy New York street. You walk the same direction everybody's walking with, well, you're going to see the same people, but you start zigzagging forth.
That's a good point.
Across the sidewalk, you're going to be bumping into a lot more people. And that's just what fishing is. You just kind of take your best guess scenario and try to apply it. And it seems to work for me. So
Yeah. Well, as always, great information. Appreciate you taking the time. We got you in, squeaked you in just before the bell here, before they close the door and fly off without you. So where are you heading?
The wife and I are doing a little romantic river cruise from starting in Switzerland and ending up in Amsterdam, where we'll be doing a little bit of fishing when we get there.
Well, there's no trip you take where there's not a little fishing involved. Right. So follow Mike Ainsworth, First Light Guide Service, on Facebook. I guarantee you're going to see some amazing fishing, fly fishing all over the world, and this trip sounds amazing as well. So appreciate you taking the time, buddy. When you get back, we'll be hitting you up and see how the fishing's going. We may come up there and join you, even if we're in the next boat over. So appreciate the info. Always a pleasure.
Not a problem, guys. Should be game on.
All right. Have a good night. Have a great trip. We'll talk to you soon.
You too, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Okay. That is some information you should pay attention to. Yeah. That fishery is doing very well. Our buddy Sean Christensen's been up there too, and it's lights out. And so, most of them charters that are running up there right now, the fishing is really good. And if you're not, if you feel like you don't have your saltwater program or your coho program dialed in, this is one of those that you can go up there and play around and pretty much probably find success. If you listen to what Mike was saying, tide is not an issue when it comes to tracking down or finding some of these resident coho. Small presentation, small spoons, 2.5, 2-inch, 3-inch spoons, various colors. Start in the morning with daylight, move it down deeper as the morning goes on and progresses, about 10 to 15 feet every hour or so. Chase them down to depth, and if you're not finding them, like when I do when I'm up there, if I'm just not seeing or hunting and pecking on fish, sometimes you drop that one downrigger down to 100 feet, 120, another one's fishing at 75 and one at 50, and just kind of stagger them and see what's going on, right? So they are not a huge fish. If you can use steelhead gear, as far as, like he mentioned, a 6 to 10 or 6 to 12 pound rod, 9.5 foot, you're going to have a kick in the pants. If you get the kids up there to do this, I'm telling you, it's a great opportunity. So always appreciate his insight. The guy's dialed in. If you want to book a trip with Mike, just get on the old social media or his webpage, First Light Guide Service. Look up Mike Ainsworth. He will book you. He fishes up there all summer long. The outlook for Chinook opportunity and some of the coho fisheries that are going to be producing up there around September. So we're going to have some opportunity to motion fish that are already out in the ocean heading this way for Puget Sound. So, okay, we are going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to finish up with a few other bits and pieces of the news around the Sound or beyond that we need to know, and then we'll continue with the rest of the show. So we'll jump out for a commercial break. Stick in there. We'll be right back after this.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick and mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
I gotta light the fire. All right, yep, we're back, and welcome back to Fish on Northwest, Wayne England and the Barnum. Warming your hands there. I was negligent in my duties. I needed to get the fire started this evening. So now we're up to speed. Hey, little note that I picked up on this week, Barnum Skagit River is closing to recreational fishing they got a sockeye fishery going on right now. I believe it opened June 15th. Due to alleviate, I should say, gear conflicts, and the tribes are going to go in.
Oh, okay.
Just so you're aware, your Skagit River recreational opportunity will be closed July 27, 28, June 27, 28, and July 1st and 2nd. Okay, so again, it's just to avoid gear conflicts. And for those that bitch about that and say, oh, this is
I was just going to say, let the bitching begin.
Well, they're going to bitch, they're going to complain, but you know, we've gone to that level of closures on segments of river when tribal fishermen are going and conduct their fishery because of the inability to get along in years past. You know, the whole bottom stretch of the Puyallup is that way anymore. They've done it on the Nisqually. And I know guys are going to tribal bash and they're going to be hating on it and all that, but at the end of the day, when you're lobbing cannonballs at tribal fishermen going by in boats and you're, you know, putting hooks in their nets and things like that, if we get past all that crap and just give them their water when they're fishing, just leave them alone because they're not there to bother us. Anyway, I'm not bashing, I'm not loving. I don't like it when they close recreational opportunity. There was a time where we were all on the river singing Kumbaya, and if they're fishing, that's fine, leave them alone. We're fishing, okay, cool. But it's not like that anymore, folks, and you know, not much we can say about it. Part of that is on us, the recreational community, for our behavior. So it's only 4 days. I believe that's open until July 15th. I have not heard a lot of really good numbers out of that, and they are anticipating that Baker Lake sockeye fishery this season. I just don't think the numbers are going to be that strong. We'll wait and see, but I'm not seeing any good, strong reports. If somebody is, and wants to chime in here and throw up a message to us, great. I have not been up north to fish that fishery and partake. I'm not exactly sure if it's performing well or subpar. The indications that I've received from a few folks is it's nothing to get excited about at this point. So, but if you are putting in time, you know, it's a plunking show, tight to the shoreline, sand shrimp, coon shrimp, and again, tight into the shore, lower part of the river, you're going to get some nice sockeye by chance. I just haven't heard a lot of good things going on. So, along with that, I got interesting notice in the mail today, Barnum. Look at this. This is NOAA Fisheries. I got a letter from NOAA Fisheries, and on top of that, a $2 bill. Don't see those very often.
Not nowadays.
Yeah, $2 bill. So, curious if any of you all have gotten a notice from NOAA Fisheries and a $2 bill for your inconvenience. That inconvenience, my friend.
It might just be a big deal right now.
No, I'm pretty sure this is just a random, some jackass they thought they'd send a letter to. Northwest Fisheries Science Center is conducting a survey of anglers in Washington State to better understand how management actions affect recreational fisheries, okay? They are actually taking time to put out this information and say, we are kindly requesting your participation in a survey to help increase understanding of what anglers like and dislike, enhance your fishing experience, and improve overall fisheries management. It is important to hear your opinions no matter how often you have fished to ensure the results are truly representative of all anglers.
Does it say how much time they have?
Yeah.
Because
you want to talk about a bid session? There's a login and a website here, www.waanglersurvey.com. You have an access code that's specific to you. If you receive this letter, I would strongly urge you to get on there and give them your 2 cents. I mean, they're truly asking what we like and dislike. Noah, I particularly don't like the status of the Salish Sea and the amount of pinnipeds that you just continue to let reside out there and decimate our fisheries. I don't like the ESA listings that we continue to fight against, and you cap and put a limit on our hatchery production because we continue to go down the road thinking that all these natural fish, native fish, are going to come back, when in fact the gene pools are so mixed up now you can't tell one family from another. So it's just, there's a lot of things going on out there. I'm going to jump online and look into this simply because I want to know what kind of questions they're asking. Yeah. If they're relevant to our frustrations, if they're relevant to what's going on out there in nature, cause and effect, our hand of what we've been doing, that is taking our fisheries the direction that it's going, the lack of habitat, the hydroelectric issues, the predation issues, both bird and pinnipeds, the tremendous amount of cutbacks in hatchery production over the last 10 years, in excess of 60 or 75% relative to Chinook in areas of Puget Sound. You wonder why there's no fish coming back? Well, there's a number of reasons, but lack of hatchery production is a huge one. Yeah. So I was very amazed when I opened up that envelope Sherry gave me today. It said NOAA Fisheries on there. I was like, well, what the heck's this all about? And I started reading through this. I am going to take this $2 bill. I put today's date on it. I know you're not supposed to write on money, but I did. So there, 6/27/20. It is 27th, right? Yeah. 27/2019. We're going to pin this here on the wall in the studio. Next year on this date, we're going to make sure we look into exactly how much progression we've made in favor of recreational fishing, or what changes have come about from this survey that NOAA is gathering. I'll be very interested to see what direction things go, if there's any changes at all, if we begin to move forward on the predation issues that we continually speak upon on this show and other shows that are covering this type of information. I'll be curious to see if they really weigh in on what the likes and dislikes are of recreational men and women who are out there dumping millions of dollars into the economy in this wonderful state of ours, and just kind of see where this whole thing ends up. So I'll be curious if either one of you guys end up with this thing as well.
Right. Well, it's good to see that. I mean, they're reaching out, and I guess hopefully they're putting their money where your mouth is. So that
they are putting their money where my mouth is. It's a good
use it.
Yeah.
So let's see if it makes a difference. Yeah.
Well, I gotta believe that they're not just going to send this out with some behind-the-scenes covert operation. They're
Right.
trying to gather some statistical data that they're going to turn around and bite us in the ass.
Right.
I don't see that happening.
Right.
What I do see happening is that hopefully they're going to acquire the information they're seeking and begin to make some changes. And we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Again, if any of you out there are, received this letter or notification, we'd like to hear about it. Make sure you post it up on our Facebook page. Let us know if you completed your survey or not. And as I go through it, and if I find some of the questions kind of interesting, I'm going to jot them down and maybe share them just to kind of see what the overall response would be or reaction would be on how they've worded some of these questions. So, I don't know, I find it interesting. It's nice to see that the feds might be dipping their hand into trying to change the way fisheries is managed. It's not all WDFW that has a say in everything that we can or can't do. NOAA has a big part in that.
I'd have to think if they got a list of fishermen from WDFW per se and they're sending that out, I'd have to think that 90+% are going to talk about predation.
You would think so.
Hopefully that's going to, you know.
If you watch this show, 100% of you are going to to about predation, whether it's in the water or on the land.
I would say 100%, but I mean, there might be a guy or two that just forgets to write that down. So
I'll be curious to see where this goes, and if it has a positive outcome and at the Fed level, maybe we see something come out of the feds relative to hunting and land management and, you know, the feds giving back all this land as of late, the last couple of years to the state. State can't manage it all. They put it up for sale. Tribes have been buying it up. I mean, there's a whole, that's a whole nother topic, but I'm very curious to see where this goes at the federal level and how it integrates with state management of our fisheries. So we'll see where that goes. You got anything else pending that you want to spout out here real quick before we jump out for a break?
I don't think so. Just, I know we had a lot of discussion on our Facebook page here the last couple days over kind of stuff that the Wild Fish Conservancy has been up to as of late. And I think you had an update because one of the links that I shared was the fact that they were trying to basically coerce Governor Brown in Oregon to not fund a couple hatcheries. So I think you come to me when I got in here and said that they did fund the Lieberg hatchery?
Oh, Lieberg hatchery, yeah, which, well, all intents and purposes, it looks like the last bit of reports that I read. Okay, so Lieberg, Dumpson, and McKenzie had predominantly trout and summer steelhead.
Right.
They weren't going to fund it. Governor Brown and all the dismantling of their government down there right now, Republicans walking out. There was a huge convoy today to the state capitol from all the loggers with some of this initiatives they're trying to pass, or this was that the, I forget what bill number that was, but
I don't remember for sure, but I did see that.
Oregon's got some stuff going on that right now makes Olympia look like a bunch of school kids, right? So good for you guys. You know, hold your ground and fight this stuff on these blatant disregard for livelihood and the logging community and the fishing communities, and you guys, you know, get after it and do what you got to do. But relative to finding a means of getting the Lieberg back into the budgetary process, they needed $1.3 million to operate it up and through to June 2021.
Okay.
I read other reports that said 1.7. It's semantics. Let's just settle at 1.5.
Okay.
It appears that it got in there. House Bill 5050 amended to include that, and then it went through Ways and Means and passed. Went through the House. Last I heard, it passed. Just a stamp of approval by the Senate. The information that I read wasn't exactly clear, but it seemed to lean heavily on the fact it was going to pass. Good. And everybody was already celebrating on social media to say, hey, it looks like we got funding for Lieberg. So a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about hatchery reform, more hatchery fish. This is about putting summer steelhead in the McKenzie. That is one that people really enjoy. It's a phenomenal river to spend time floating and camping and doing that whole deal. A lot of history there. So hats off to all you folks that rallied around and got organized and made sure that that your government down there heard you, and the process does work if we put enough effort into it.
And I think that just goes to show that there's going to be a lot more of this coming in the future, a lot of attack on hatcheries.
Mm-hmm.
We have budget shortfalls to deal with, and they're going to be looking ways to make budget. So hatcheries are going to be on the chopping block.
Right.
And this could be a good example of, if we band together as fishermen, we can beat this. So
yeah, good point.
That we do that.
Yeah, when we have small successes like this, take note of that and realize as we move forward for the next topic, that hey, it only took this much of us coming together to make this thing happen.
Yep.
Let's do it again because this next topic is important. So, all right, perfect. We will jump out for a break. We come back. We are going to be in the kitchen. We got a 2-part cooking segment tonight. Apparently, Chef told me he couldn't get it all done in one. So we come back. They're going to hammer out, that is Chef Kelly and Sherry, the Serrano ham wrapped ling cod with a Romesco sauce over paprika potatoes.
Sounds delicious.
Sounds delicious. Sounds like a mouthful just saying it. So we'll be in the kitchen, Chef Kelly and Sherry. We come back right after this break.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Hut Northwest. We're here in the kitchen with Chef Kelly for the recipe of the week, and we have link cod.
Yes, link cod this is that time of year, and everybody's gonna have a lot of link cod because you can really stack up the whole freezer full.
Yeah.
Yes.
And get a boat full of people, and everybody gets some.
So we're gonna do like a fancy restaurant kind of influenced, Spanish influenced dish here. We're gonna do a Serrano ham wrapped link cod with a Romesco sauce and smoked paprika potatoes.
Mouthful.
Mouthful, but you know what? If you just took one thing out of this, pay attention to the Romesco sauce. It's a very versatile sauce. You can use it on, just about anything, to tell you the truth. Okay?
So is that what you were roasting this morning when you set off the fire?
Shh, don't tell them that. All right, so let's work on our potatoes. Okay. So today I got some these cool little medley potatoes.
Yeah, I like those.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of fun looking.
And you can get those anywhere.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're going to do these little cool purple potatoes. They're kind of Peruvian.
But you can use any kind of potatoes. But
yep. And also, I also picked up some cipollini onions here. And I'll show you those in a second as soon as I finish.
Those are that sweet onion.
Yeah, they're a sweet Italian onion, but I know they're not
the
Spanish theme, but you know what? I'll make that exception with this dish.
Okay.
They're just something a little special.
And they're not available that often, right?
No.
Okay. So when they are, you get them.
Run away. So this is that cipollini. So flat little guy. It's kind of weird to deal with, but just kind of top it.
Like the looks of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of like a donut peach. Ever seen those?
Donut peach?
Donut peach, yeah.
Can't say I have.
No? Yeah, they have the same kind of look to them. They're really flat looking. Yeah, I like them.
How do you eat a donut peach?
Carefully. Like a Krispy Kreme, right?
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to toss these in a little bit of oil.
Okay.
A bit of kosher salt.
Kosher salt.
All chefs use kosher salt.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have a lot of money. Fleur de sel is also a great substitution. So French salt.
Say that again.
Fleur de sel.
Okay.
Flour.
Now you're throwing French in.
Hey, you know, we're all
Worldwide recipe.
We're all inclusive here, you know.
Okay.
Throw that on a sheet pan. Throw that in a 400-degree oven.
Look at how colorful it already is.
Right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
400 degrees
400 degrees.
for about?
20 minutes.
Okay.
You know, that's what we're kind of, you know, till they're done. So.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to work with our serrano ham. So we're going to double wrap them. So we're going to go this way, because my top part of the presentation side is going to be that side.
Okay.
So we're going to wrap that so that it has a...
That's great that that's something that you think about. I mean, everyday chefs, kitchen chefs, don't really think about the presentation. I've started to a lot. Yeah.
Also notice I did not season this thing because, you know, the serrano ham has, and all, you know, prosciutto ham, all those things are very highly salted. That's basically all they are.
They're cured.
They're cured
in
you know,
salt.
with salt.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
got our pan hot here.
All right.
There we go.
So you're just searing it.
Just searing it, and then we're going to cook it the rest of the way on the sheet pan in the oven. So it's going to be roasted in the oven.
Okay, so you're just searing it, and then when you bake it, it's all encased there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna, the serrano ham is going to act like shrink wrap and just kind of shrink right on top of it.
Oh. Keeps the moisture in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can already see it's kind of clamping down on it.
Yeah. So you cut your, you cut the cod to kind of match the size of your ham?
Because you know, you're kind of limited on the size of prosciutto or serrano ham, and so why try to fight it? You know, sometimes you need to maybe cut it in half. You know, make it work.
Okay.
You know, don't try to just stick with that one side.
All right.
Okay. So we have a good sear on that side.
Alrighty.
We're going to finish this thing in the oven.
And about how long for that, do you think?
So yeah, we're cooking the potatoes and the fish at 400 degrees. Shoot for like 8 minutes. You know, it's going to feel firm. You know, we're going to cook this well done. This is lean cod.
Okay.
And the serrano ham is also going to give it a little added fat to it. So it's going to keep it moist, and it's going to protect it from overcooking too. So that's another reason why we like it. It's something cool, but also has its own purpose too. And, you know, that's why I like using the serrano ham.
Okay. Well, I guess while that's roasting, we'll go ahead and throw it back to the guys in the studio.
Awesome.
Welcome back in studio. Once again, Chef is just kind of throwing something together there that I've never heard of, but I'm sure it's going to be delish.
Yeah.
So, do you wrap your typically wrap your lean cod in serrano ham?
No, I do not.
No, I do not.
I wrap it in panko breading. And put it on top
Oh,
of.
yes, perfect. Hey, so David and I and a couple others, as mentioned earlier in the show, are heading out with a friend of ours this weekend out of Westport. Going to go after some halibut because we got a couple halibut days, 28, 29, 27th. I mean, depends what area you're fishing here. We'll go over that. But got some ocean weather to look at. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty epic day for you guys out there. First off here, let's just go to the forecast here. This is the forecast for Westport. You can see they were calling for some showers today. Any of you guys that live out on the coast, we had that. That definitely happened today. We had some pretty heavy thunderstorms go through the Pacific County area. Lots of heavy rain. I even heard a couple cracks of thunder. So
yeah,
a little unstable. Friday, cloudy, most of the time. Saturday, cloudy. Sunday, partly sunny. So pretty stable air after we get through today's stuff. Kind of look at tides for Westport for the weekend for you guys. Saturday, low waters at 5:02, it's a 0.0. High waters at 11:36, it's a 6.4. So, I mean, you're going to have kind of that max flood in the morning for the bar crossing, but with the swell report that we're going to see here next, bar crossings are going to be no problem for Saturday and Sunday. Weather here, we got a few days of onshore flow is what they're talking about. Friday, 5 to 15 knots, wind waves 2 feet or less. But the swell's at 3 feet at 12 seconds. Saturday, it's going to go 3 feet at 11 seconds. Sunday, it's going to be 3 feet at 11 seconds. So just light wind, no wind waves really to speak of, and just a super small swell. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful ocean this weekend and going into the first part of next week.
How about that?
So, I mean, there's not much else to say about ocean conditions other than it's going to be a pond.
These thunderstorms have been interesting, albeit it rained here and hailed yesterday like I had not seen in quite some time. But those periodic showers and just dumping that short amount, I mean, it might give our rivers just a skosh of a bump, but it's nothing to sustain. So we are summer on steelhead fishing out here on the intercoast and out on the coast and whatnot. Rivers are dropping down to an extremely low level. Typically is in true Northwest fashion. As we get past 4th of July, we're going to hit that. I already looked at the long range. We're going to finally get out of these showers in that kind of mid 60s to 70s. We're going to get into that mid upper 70s into 80s right after 4th of July. And then it's just, we're to put the oven on 350 degrees and bake for, 60 to 80 days because it is going to be a scorcher. With a periodic thunder shower.
Maybe dispel a myth or prove a myth. Maybe it's not a myth, but I've heard people say before, like when you get these long dry spells and then you'll get one day where you'll have some showers come through, or maybe you'll get a 1/4 inch of rain or whatever, and then it gets hot again. I've heard people say that's actually worse for fire danger. Is that true, or?
It doesn't do anything. Those dry fuels are dried out, and just a little dampening of that is nothing. I mean, it's like you dump water on top of this table a couple days, it evaporates, right? It's gone. So once it's gone, it's gone.
So it's not necessarily doesn't amplify it or make it worse, other than maybe people think that, I can go burn.
Well, that's the thing. It increases fire danger because people think, everything got wet, so we can go ahead and burn, even if there's a burn ban on or whatever. But so yeah, it's going to get hot and dry, and our rivers. Getting through the summer with summer steelhead fisheries is one thing. Okay, and actually we come back from the holiday break and roll into that second week of July. We'll be back in the bait lab. We're going to talk about some low gin clear water, low water steelhead techniques that you want to take advantage of. But kind of digressing, I have more of a concern as we roll into September, October, those early fall fisheries, as those salmon begin to return and get kegged up in some of our lower rivers. We had mentioned it, I believe, several weeks ago. We could find ourselves with some in-season management decisions that WDFW may have to make as it relates to the inability of fish to navigate up water or up rivers. So, just be mindful of that the longer we go now deeper into summer and we get into that early fall and don't get that rain early September, it's going to be problematic for our fall fisheries initially. Okay, so as truly typically is the case. Fortunately for us, most of our rivers sustain that coho fishing all the way into November, December, and we have a ton of coho coming back. So we may have to approach it with kid gloves on some of our early Chinook fisheries, but we'll see that when we get to it. But going into this weekend, tomorrow, Marine Area 1, you got a opener for all depth fishing on your halibut. Marine Area 2 is 28, 29. 3 and 4 is 27, 28, and 29. So we have quite an opportunity here through all your marine areas. Go to WDFW, look under the recent news or updates. You're going to find all the ocean areas covered. You're going to see which days are relevant as far as our last opportunity for halibut. And we, my friend, not you, are going to take advantage of that. and try to tie into some dandy halibut and deep water lings before we no longer get that. The next opportunity is not going to be till mid-September.
Okay. Also go back and look. I think it might have been Fish Hunt Northwest episode 3.
Yeah.
Where we had Mike Beath, and he talked all about halibut, and then we did the how-to in there on halibut. So, I mean, that information.
Was that 3? 3 or 4 with John Beath, yep.
Yeah, John Beath, sorry.
He's up in Alaska right now, but that information is relevant.
Right.
Albeit, when we were talking that early season, those fish not quite staging up now, and if you remember when we talked to Tommy Donlin, he talked about those early opportunities, and those fish were staged down deeper. They're going to actually be moved up on more of those flats now as we get late season like this. So either way, I'm going with Ben. He's got his spots.
Right.
I'm not going to steal his GPS coordinates. I got an IT guy to do that. Right. And that's why I'm bringing David along, because he's going to have all his geeked out equipment there, and we're going to dial that stuff in. So should be a great time. Hope to have some fantastic pics and video of our halibut and lingcod fishing. And back here in the bait room, the actual bait room, there is a vat that I'll show you after the show, soaking in Potskey's green and chartreuse with some krill and a bunch of trout and kokanee. Blasphemous kokanee, I know. And for all you guys who are going to jump on now and say, hey, you can't use that for bait, well, I won't tell you what you can go do, but we can use trout and kokanee for bait, and Ben says, please bring it, because we're going to go out in the morning and catch our flounder or sand dabs, and then we're going to go after some halibut and our lingcod, but he definitely wants to try some of these trout and kokanee. Last day of the season, he's like, let's go for it. Let's see what outperforms or what produces on any given day. You just never know.
That's right.
So we're taking multiple baits with us. It's going to be a good time. All right, with that, we are going to jump out. We are right on time, David. See how we do that? Back in around 7 o'clock here. Jump out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to have the man himself that I'm very fond of following all his shenanigans on Facebook, and his ability to target and be very successful in catching both Chinook and Coho out in the ocean. Mr. John Keizer, Salt Patrol himself. First time on the show. We've been friends for a long time. Goes way back to our early Potski days and whatnot, but John's been around forever. You don't follow him. You need to. His information is valuable in helping you be successful on the water. So we're jumping out for a break. We come back. Mr. Salt Patrol, John Keizer, will be on the phone with us, and we're going to talk about that Westport fishery, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fish on Northwest. Wayne England and the Barnum in studio this evening, just kind of jumping around, covering all kinds of topics. I was kind of torn going back and forth. Wanted to do a presentation in the bait lab this evening, but I thought, there's a lot of salmon fishing going on out there right now. Previously, if you missed it, we talked with Mike Ainsworth for Area 10 and the resident coho fishery, and then some of that Chinook fishery that will be coming on later on. But right now, you definitely have opportunity in our 4 ocean areas, which opened last Saturday, June 22nd, was the official opener for our oceans for both Chinook and Coho. And depending where you were, we were down there out of Owaco, and a handful of folks, so they went out first thing in the morning, got it done relatively quick, 75, 80 foot of water, found some nice Chinook and some nice Chinook. Not to mention, saw a picture of a 21-pounder ocean fish that was already down here, Area 13, this last week. Art Cashel of Point Defiance had put that up, of a gentleman who normally fishes Area 11, but is down here fishing 13 because that's what's open. And lo and behold, they are scratching out a few ocean fish already in Area 13. And later in the show, as we close it out, Barnum, we'll talk a little bit about this Area 13 resident coho fishery. I talked to Terry Rudnick here earlier in the week, and some phenomenal information about Area 13, the coho fishery. But to his surprise, already have boated 3 or 4 ocean Chinook in Area 13, which in his memory, and Terry's been doing it for a long time, it's some of the earliest Chinook he can remember being in that south end of Puget Sound already. So we'll get into all that, but before we do, longtime friend of ours, John Keizer, with Lawrence, of course, forever. And if you've never caught his seminars, you're missing out. And of course, well-known Mr. Salt Patrol himself. John, thanks for jumping on the phone this evening, buddy. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right. Sitting in the studio here talking fishing. So, that's as good as we can do. If we could be out fishing, maybe, I don't know, in that big North River or something, that would be kind of a nice evening as well. So, you got out on opening day. How would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10 in performance-wise on opening day out of Westport?
I'd have to say 10 for opening day. I mean, it was spectacular. I mean, it started out a little slow on the beach. We were fishing the beach, and then got a call that a couple of fish were getting caught in deeper water, and we ran out a little bit deeper, and, it's close to 300 feet, and, we dropped right in on a king bite, and surprisingly, they were nice fish. I mean, upper 20, 15. They were beautiful, and they looked like Columbia River fish. I mean, they were just beautiful fish. So it was that was nice, but unfortunately, it didn't last long. So it's been spotty. I mean, off and on. That one day the charters are on fish, next day they're not. It's just kind of the fish are kind of trickling in down here, and if you happen to be out there when they're coming through, you're in them. So, man, I mean, for that size of fish, I mean, there were several fish caught that were in upper 20s down here on that day or that weekend, that opening weekend, and it's hard to beat that. I mean, I can go all day and get 1 30-pounder, doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah,
right.
Is that typical this time of year? I mean, that early opener like that. Typically, I recall that 15-pound fish being pretty much an average, pretty commonplace, but you're already talking mid 20s, just barely brushing under 30 pounds, and it's just getting started.
Yeah, no, it's remarkably early. Again, guys were looking for them. There was some reports, so the trollers had some reports that the week before they were up on the prairie, and they were catching fish up there, some nice fish. So I think those were the same fish, and they just started moving down. And as you had said, Owaco had picked up some, so you can see right where they were going. So they were coming down, and hopefully a bunch more are going to be following them shortly here.
Right. You said you started the morning in on the beach. Did you see any type of bite action at all in close on the beach, or was it just completely dead?
No, it was slow. We had one. We hooked up one. It's probably about 10, 12 pounds. When you fish the beach, it's kind of a fish flash game, behind a diver, diver fish flash bait or diver fish flash spoon, that kind of thing. And you're not really doing the downringer thing because you're trolling in and out of the crab pots. But we hooked up one, and it was a darker fish. I kind of think pretty sure it was a tule. That one. It came unbuttoned, which was fortunate for us that day. And how the diver bite can be. So it can. they're a little tougher to get in sometimes. But then we moved offshore and dropped in. We were fishing probably 90 feet on the downriggers and pulling, lighted Pro Troll lighted flashers with hoochies behind them. And man, we just, I think we trolled half a mile and we had a double, and immediately turned around on the bait ball. And after we got those 2 fish in, that was like I said, one was 20, one was 27. Turned around again, and we had another double, and we ended up having to let one go. We kept one about 15. So.
Well, that's good advice there, because I see that a lot of people fish in the ocean. I mean, you go through, you get a double. There's obviously a pot of fish there, turn around and go back through those fish. Don't just continue to troll the same direction for miles.
Just leave them behind you.
Right.
You work the bait ball or the fish. In this case, I saw a fish under the bait, but I mean, you work it until there's nothing there. You don't want to, if you can go circle it or go back and forth across it, even if you have to change. In this case, we were trolling south. We ended up going north and back up and then coming east and west across it.
Right.
But, then guys that were doing that were catching fish. So.
Right.
Yeah. Have you noticed an increase in hookup opportunities, John, since you went with those lighted Pro Trolls? Or the standard Pro Troll still producing for you, or do you fish those lighted ones more often now, especially when you go deeper water?
Dwayne, I have switched over totally to lighted flashers.
Is that right?
Make that much difference, yeah. I mean, I even went to the point where I was putting the little, how they got the stick-on lights.
Yep.
I was putting those on the fish flash, so they were producing pretty good. So and I got to play with them long before a lot of people did.
Sure.
And man, they were just deadly at blackmouth. And then when you go down there in the ocean, you're fishing down, anywhere 90. Sometimes we fish, 150 to 300 feet deep,
right? Depending
on where they're at, and they were very, very effective. I would not switch back right now, and nobody's going to convince me not to use them. So
yeah. Hey,
all the fish. I'm sorry. All our fish we got were full of shrimp. So if you're going out there, I'm telling you, these fish are full of krill.
Yeah.
Packed full of krill. I mean, they were puking it up when you got them in, and it only took a second to grab the shrimp, poke your shrimps in and put it on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you
open them up and see what they're eating?
Yeah, good point. Do you lather up that scent when you decide which ones to go with? You put that all over your flashers, or you keep those clean?
Mm-hmm. No, I put a little bit on the spoon, and we inject a little bit in the head of the squid before we put it down in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. At least try to get some additional scent on there. Seems to typically produce. If you would, real quick, let's run down your preference on leader lengths that you're running behind your flasher relative to spoon versus, say, if you were going to run a hoochie or a ace high fly insert on a hoochie and or a bait rig. Just to remind folks on your leader lengths of your choice, depending on those 3 options.
I'm doing between 38 and 40 inches for a hoochie. I tend to troll a lot faster in the ocean than I do in anywhere else because you're kind of looking for fish. I may be 3.5, sometimes almost 4 miles an hour.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we're moving, and once we figure out where they're at, then we'll slow down. We go down about 3 miles an hour, but. I do that, and normally we run bigger hooks out here. I like to run either 5s or 6s, and sickle hook, the Mustad sickle hooks, and I don't put a lot of glow in the hoochie, so maybe a bead or 2, and that seems to work really well for us.
So. As we progress deeper into the summer here, you would anticipate that nearshore fishery kind of taking off. I know that's one of your favorites, to just stay in tight if you can and just do that diver or lead fishery along that 75, 80-foot line off of the shore and whatnot. You think that's going to materialize this year, and what do you think our Chinook numbers will look like?
Right now it's kind of looking like what they're predicting. The Chinook are going to be down, but there's a massive amount of coho coming, and some of the coho we caught already are fairly decent size. So, yes and yes. I mean, I think you'll find them everywhere. The way they're going, and if anybody's ever experienced a diver bite, it's kind of fun. I mean, I mean, they're compared to a downwind, they're just a kick. So
right, it's hard to beat a good ocean wide open coho bite.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
No doubt about it.
On the coho you guys caught, what depth range were you finding those?
They were hitting anywhere from on the surface. We always put a diver rod out behind the kicker motor,
right,
all the way down. Even 50, 60 feet, they were still hitting on. So they were there, and the charter fleet got into a pretty good coho bite on last Sunday, and then yesterday, I guess they had a really good coho bite. They caught quite a few and a few kings, and then today I guess to slow down again a little bit. Okay. But right side is we got 2 halibut days coming up. We got tomorrow and Saturday, both in the waters looking flat.
Yeah.
So
right.
We were quickly taking down riggers off and to make a run tomorrow. So.
Yeah, well, we'll be out there. We'll be out there Saturday, joining you on the halibut grounds for sure, and going after some deep water lings with our buddy Ben Overmar. So Macy, going to jump in with Ben. Macy out there running around, and we'll try to get us some halibut in the boat on Saturday. But then it'll be right back to salmon fishing. Ben asked me, he goes, well, do you want to go out and go after halibut? Because, salmon's open. I go, well, yeah, salmon's open, and we can fish salmon anytime. But
right.
hell yes, we're going to go out and go after halibut. So anyway, always a pleasure, John. Thanks for taking time this evening and jumping on with us. Have a fantastic weekend out there, whatever you're out pursuing. Probably run into you Saturday down there, and keep it safe, my friend.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You bet. Take care.
Take care.
That guy is a wealth of knowledge, second to none as far as even fishing Puget Sound ocean fisheries when it comes to chasing salmon, Chinook and Coho.
Right.
John Keizer is a one to tap into and try to draw some information out of. So great guest to have on. He will continue to check in with us from time to time. As we said, longtime friend, and just a very nice man, right? Yeah. Just very approachable. If you haven't caught his seminars and you are struggling with some of your electronics, whenever you see him posting up his opportunity to put on a seminar, whether it's at Sportco or Cabela's or wherever he travels around and does seminars, sportsman shows, make sure you schedule yourself some time. Get in on John's seminars with Lawrence because they are fantastic. Going to definitely shorten your learning curve, and you're going to gain a lot of information from him. Before we jump out, I want to remind you folks that, where is it? I need to pull up my notes here. I got too many pages going on here behind the old desk. Nowhere to Hunt. Our friends over there at Nowhere to Hunt. We talked about them a couple weeks ago. Jeff and Rick have a fantastic establishment going there. Nowhere to Hunt. Get access to some of the best private waterfowl hunting fields in Washington State. Nowhere to Hunt has access to prime fields in Skagit County, and check this out, they've just added Grays Harbor, which I am kind of excited about because it's in the backyard, and of course even over in eastern Washington, just outside of Spokane and whatnot. So they are now covering multiple locations. If before when we talked about this, and you're down here in South Sound, didn't really get too excited about the fact of having to drive clear up to Skagit, Grays Harbor, and of course now on the east side, they have 2 membership types available you need to pay attention to. A flat rate membership for unlimited hunting that is on sale until Sunday the 30th. It's for $900 for the membership through the season. You're going to save $200 if you get it before the end of the month or June 30th. And of course, you can also buy the membership for $200 per person if you're an individual looking to hunt 5 to 7 times per year, and they'll go over all that information with you. Simply get on their website. Avoid the 15 shell limit, long lines, and over hunted fields associated with public hunts for an affordable price. Learn tried and true hunting techniques from seasoned guides and members. Know Where to Hunt is where quality hunters can access quality waterfowl habitat. Go to the website, knowwheretohunt.com, to get more information. And any questions you have, phone numbers are there for you to call. Take advantage of this. $900 for the year-long membership. Get you into some prime habitat and hunting grounds. This is up-and-coming waterfowl season. It's definitely going to be worth looking into. I know we will be spending some time with those guys, especially that we got it down here in Grays Harbor County now. So looking forward to that. All right, we are going to jump out for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be back in the kitchen for the final cook on that lingcod that Serrano wrapped lingcod. It just seems like something the upper
chef's always got to pull out the
chef's got
stuff.
Yeah,
right?
the fancy, Mr. Fancy.
Right.
So we got some Serrano ham wrapped lingcod. Gonna finalize that whole thing in the kitchen when we come back right here on Fish Hunt Northwest.
At Metals Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the kitchen with Chef Kelly, and we're getting ready to finish up the lingcod recipe.
Yes, lingcod.
What's next?
If you're just joining us now, we have a Serrano ham wrapped lingcod. We seared it, it's in the oven, and we're roasting off our potatoes with our cipollini onions. So now we're going to work on our Romesco sauce.
Okay.
So earlier this morning, you know, when I set off the alarm to wake you up, I was roasting off some peppers and some nice tomatoes here.
So you peeled them. Some people leave that on, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, you absolutely could.
Okay.
So we're gonna add all these tomatoes. I'm gonna see where our tomatoes. Remember that this is a. It's all about the peppers. Normally, it's also about the piquillo peppers. But you know, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I don't know if everybody can find piquillo peppers. Mm-hmm. So let's just keep it, you know, within the realm of everybody else can get a hold of.
All right.
So I toasted off some bread, cut off the crust. This is very traditional of this sauce.
Is that like a baguette?
Yeah, this is a baguette I got.
All right.
Not sherry friendly.
Oh, keto-wise. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to
Remember,
add...
I cheat each week, though.
Cheater?
Yeah.
So I'm adding about 3 cloves of garlic. I've seen some recipes, they go a little heavier on the garlic. I've had some of our chefs argue with me that I'm a little too heavy on it, but 3 garlic cloves is about in the middle of the road.
Okay.
So then,
I like the heavier garlic.
Right. I love garlic too, right? So I got some toasted almonds here, skinless. Slivered almonds here. Nice and toasted. I just put them in a dry pan and toasted them up.
Oh.
It does typically have like a little bit of chili flakes, or you can use cayenne also. I'm using cayenne today. That's just a pinch, and you can always add more. We're doing about a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. You can also use sherry vinegar.
Which is expensive. Not everybody can have it in their kitchen.
Right? What do we got going on? There we go.
Okay. I'll leave it alone now.
All right, so we just want to get this pretty smooth here.
So you want it a little bit thinner?
Yes, and so we're going to add some extra virgin olive oil.
All right.
And drizzle that in there. Don't forget to season it.
little bit of kosher salt.
A little bit of kosher salt.
Okay.
And we're looking good. You know, typically, if you wanted to make this a little thicker, I would probably add a little bit more bread.
Okay.
That's it.
Good to go?
Good to go.
All right.
Okay, so can you put that in there?
Sure.
I'm gonna check in on our fish and our potatoes. Our fish is done.
All right.
To that, a little firm, perfect. Okay, so I pulled out our potatoes already. I'm gonna get these going there. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of butter to finish them.
Okay. Oh, nice and roasted.
Yeah, a little bit of garlic.
Not overly done. No.
So another thing is that if you add the garlic early on, then you might get it burnt, and then that's not good. Also, you don't want to burn the smoked paprika. We got this from Trader Joe's, but there's a lot of different stores carry this. Also, another thing is that paprika in Europe is really a big thing. It's really an important spice, and it comes in 3 different kinds. There's sweet paprika, there's a hot paprika, which does have a little bit of kick to it, and then, of course, the smoked paprika. And I really love smoked paprika. It's a good go-to thing for me because, if you wanted to cheat a smoky flavor without, it's wintertime, and you want to have that smoky flavor,
Yeah.
it's a good thing to have, in your repertoire.
So it's different than liquid smoke.
Yeah,
You're not a fan?
I hate liquid smoke. I think liquid smoke should just disappear. There's never been a liquid smoke I go, you know what, that's good. Like some people cheat their pulled pork, with liquid smoke. No, not a good thing.
Not good. Not
No.
good. You use quite a bit of it. Yeah.
Smells good. I smell smokiness to it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're ready to plate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with our potatoes. Cipollini onions.
Yeah, look how those lay out like that.
Right.
Great.
I mean, do you smell the smokiness?
Oh, yeah.
And I got a third one here somewhere.
Yeah, and it's got the smoky, spicy smell to it.
Right?
Liquid smoke doesn't smell spicy. It smells smoky.
Here's our beautiful Serrano ham. See how it kind of shrink wrapped?
Yes.
Right over the top of it?
Yes.
Good stuff right there.
Some moisture in there.
Yep. And then we'll just add just a little bit of our sauce.
Woo!
There you go, huh? And I would serve
you
this. I'd serve this in any one of my restaurants. No problem. I would not hesitate serving that for like $22, $25.
Wow. And I don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I get to eat this.
It probably costs you like a quarter of the price.
Exactly, to make it. At home.
Right.
Well, you fish for the cod.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
have some fun doing it. Okay, while we dig in, we're going to go ahead and throw it back to the guys in the studio then.
There you go, Barnum.
$2?
I'm going to give you this $2 bill if you eat that ham-wrapped freaking lingcod.
I'll pay you $2.
All right, I'll just keep the $2. Welcome back in studio. That, once again, looks like a phenomenal recipe by Chef and Sherry getting it done. Can't wait to taste that. It's always... Some of the stuff he cooks, I kind of go, that's a little different. But when you taste it, you're just like, oh my God.
It's understanding how to meld flavors.
Yes,
together.
I think that's the key, right? So, okay, before we jump out for a break, I'm going to remind you once again, just did a little bit ago, but get access to some of the best private waterfowl hunting fields in Washington State. Know Where to Hunt. Remember that name, Know Where to Hunt. Has access to prime fields in Skagit County, in Grays Harbor, and Eastern Washington. basically covering the state for you, so you got some really good options here. They have 2 membership types: a flat rate membership for unlimited hunting that is on sale right now through the end of June for $900. Okay, for your entire membership, $900 versus $1,100. You're gonna save $200. Or you can go and as a alternate membership, $200 for a person looking to simply hunt 5 to 7 times a year. And for a lot of us trying to integrate, you know, big game hunting, waterfowl, fishing and all that, this may be the ideal opportunity. You have access to all the same lands and opportunities that the full-on membership does for the hardcore waterfowler. So something to think about. For $200, you're going to have access to some prime opportunity simply by having bought into this membership. Avoid the 15 shell limit, long lines and overhunted fields, which is pretty common, or overcrowded public blinds, which can be frustrating if you're trying to get your kids out. Something else to think about. With public hunts and affordable prices, learn tried and true hunting techniques from seasoned guides and members. Know Where to Hunt is where quality hunters can access waterfowl and good waterfowl habitat. Go to the website, knowwheretohunt.com, and you'll find out all their information from there. Take advantage of this opportunity before the end of June. We will continue to talk about the boys over at Know Where to Hunt, because we will be hunting with them, because guess what, Barnum? They know where to hunt.
They do know where to hunt.
How you like that? Good closer on that?
Hopefully I know how to shoot them.
Know how to shoot. That one's on you.
Because in the past I have not been very effective at shooting flying birds.
Didn't I see you on Sea Ducks?
Yeah.
With Cody?
Yeah.
Season 1.
And I wore my shoulder out.
That's what I remember you talking about that.
I think I hit about 4 out of about 700.
Those things are fast, aren't they? They come in low and built for speed.
Right,
so.
Right. I mean, I'm a bow hunter. I don't even hardly shoot a rifle ever anymore.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I was a little out of my element.
Yeah, that's all right.
They had a good time.
It's always a good time, right? Okay, we're going to jump out for a commercial break. We come back, we're going to delve into this. Speaking of Cody Herman.
Right.
Barnum and I, earlier in the week, maybe you caught some of the short video teasers we put out there on the social medias. We went sturgeon fishing with our buddy Cody. Yep. Now, we're not going to totally explode this whole thing and ruin his episode that he's going to have coming up later in the season with his show, Day One Outdoors. But it was a unique concept he wanted to take advantage of and get out there and try. And that was sturgeon fishing standing in the Columbia River. Now you go, oh, what's the big deal? I mean, there's a lot of areas on the Columbia River you can stand. Yeah, right. You can along a beach and when you're plunking and things like that. Yeah. We were in the Columbia River at the mouth of the Columbia River, or what's considered close enough to the mouth, down there around Buoy 10, but not quite out to Buoy 10. But the sand flats in the middle of the river in that 4-mile wide stretch above and below the Astoria-Megler Bridge.
Yeah, we had quite a few cars go by and honk at us.
Yes, we just kept waiting for the Coast Guard to get launched to come out and save us. But we are going to talk about our experience in trying to land sturgeon when you're standing level to level with them in the water, and some of the experiences we had. Oh, by the way, if you caught a little video we put out before the show started, we had a little encounter with a young gray whale that came over to check out what we had going on. Pretty exciting stuff. So we'll wrap up the show talking about some sturgeon, talking about some other events going on, a couple videos to get through while we close this thing out. Don't go anywhere. Take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on FHN. but depending how it goes. All right, welcome back to Fish on Northwest. Dwayne England and the Barnum to my right. Dude, we got out and had a pretty good time the other day.
Yeah, it was fun.
Kind of a grind. I mean, we were down there in Ilwaco, came back home. Shing and I headed up to the Mariners game on Sunday.
Right.
Up bright and early, back down to Astoria to meet up with Cody on Monday, but well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. So, it's no secret, Barnum is a well-accomplished sturgeon fisherman from years past, guiding trips, and just your knowledge of sturgeon is second to none, my friend. You do a great job. When Cody gave us the opportunity to join him for a day of fishing and shooting an episode for his show, Day One Outdoors, he wanted to put a little different spin on it, and you hadn't done this before.
No.
Had you bobber fished for sturgeon before?
No, Cody and I had just talked about it. We were actually we're anchored up, and we were communicating during the keeper season and trying to come up with a plan. It was a really windy, kind of crappy tide day, and the boat was swinging around everywhere. And I made the comment to Cody, I said, you know what we need is bobbers, so we can just throw out there and leave the slack line and not have to worry about dragging our bait all over the place.
So let's talk about that. What's the problem if you're in your boat in the wind, in the waves, and the chop is, getting the stern of your boat pitching back and forth, and you're dragging those rod tips, right?
So at times with sturgeon, I mean, there's times where sturgeon come up and it's just bam, they bury the rod, they're hooked, you pick it up and you start fighting a fish, done deal.
Yep.
But there is a lot of times where a sturgeon will come up and just basically gently pick up that bait, and the tip of the pole might only move 2 inches. That's your cue to pick up and get ready, and then when you feel him turn to take the bait, then that's when you'll get the solid tug. So being able to see that initial pickup, because what you'll get a lot of times is they'll pick that bait up, and that turn, because they've been holding it in their mouth already for, say, 3-4 seconds, that turn can be really short before they spit it out, because they realize there's resistance, I can't take this, and they spit it out. So being able to keep a tight line on that sinker so that you can see that initial pickup is highly important. And when the boat is swinging around due to wind or slack tide or whatever else, you drag that lead. As you're pulling it, you drag it, and then as the boat swings back the other way, all that line drops slack.
Yep.
And I've actually seen situations where the boat's swinging all around, you kind of get tired of dealing with it, so you quit reeling in that slack every time it happens, and pretty soon you look over and see a sturgeon jump with a weight in his mouth and go, oh my God, I got one, I don't know what pole
Don't know which rod it's on, yeah. Good point.
But yeah, and there is probably a little truth to the fact that when that bait's getting drug around, as a sturgeon is approaching it and it moves, he might be, whoa, wait a minute, and back away from it. So there's that risk too.
Yeah. So you thought, well, if you put floats on there, and keep in mind the weight's still on the bottom, short leader bait, whether it's your cigar roll of sand shrimp or an anchovy or a smelt or whatever you're using, that's still on the bottom.
Right.
Float's just up there as an indicator, and just, you don't have to worry about mending that line, worried about slack or tension.
Understanding the depth of water you're fishing, so you still have that sinker sitting on the bottom with the bait off of the leader that's stationary. And then looking at your depth. Okay, I'm going to be fishing 4 feet of water, so I'll set that bobber stop at about 4.5, 5 feet, so that float's just laying up there.
Yeah.
So when that sturgeon, because we're using a slider for the sinker, when that sturgeon takes that bait, that 3 or 4 inches of play in that float should make that float stand up or potentially go under. But more than likely, just stand up. More of a strike indicator than a typical, steelhead bobber bite where the bobber is going to
disappears. Not going to typically drain, even though you're talking about 6 to 8 foot fish or bigger. They can't pull a 2-ounce float down, Barnum.
But we saw on the fish that we caught on the bobber, we actually caught a few from the boat. It wasn't necessarily even the bobber going down or anything. It was more that the bobber just starts swimming away.
Yeah, they maintain that level because they're on 4 to 5 feet of water. And they pick it up off the bottom. They're just swimming along the bottom, so that float just kind of
starts going, and you're like, "Why is the bobber?"
Or that one came in towards the boat. And Cody goes, "Hey, that thing looks like it's pushed across the bottom there." Reel up and simply reel down until you feel lead, and all of a sudden you barely feel that fish, and all of a sudden then it loaded up a little bit, set the hook, and it was fish on. So it's kind of interesting how a fish that large can literally pick up a bait and move around with it. It's not truly a 100% guaranteed strike indicator.
No.
But it's more so, as you said, for your presentation purposes and your moving boat, you don't have to mend those lines. And
I think it could be an effective tool for that. I mean, it's be something that it's going to take you, a minute per rod to throw that on. So, I mean, if you got in a windy situation where the tide's kind of dying out, it's like, you know what, in 1 minute I can have a rod switched over and be fishing that way and not have to fight that.
And it proved its worth in that wind kicks up down there in the afternoon like it did on the day we're down below the bridge. And we were fishing at times in the water, which we'll get into, and at times in the boat. And those floats just stayed out there, and the boat was moving back and forth a bit because we had one anchor.
Yeah.
We weren't anchored down on both ends. We were anchor on the bow, and we had some pitching and rolling and moving, and those floats just hung out there, and they kept that bait down in that area, and those fish picked it up.
Yeah.
But the thought was to take that particular rig and get out there knowing what you know, and what Cody knows, and how these fish come in on that flood, and we'll get up onto those sands out in the middle of that river. And basically, his thought was, if we're standing on the sand and fishing a little drop off of 2 to 4 foot, even up to 6 foot, we should get those sturgeon coming in to feed. And it worked. Yeah. And we threw floats out there, mostly just so because we're standing in the water. Again, not having to hold tight on that line or mend that line or wait for that bite. At times we were standing out there for an hour. Yeah. And I'd stick the rod in my wader belt.
Yeah, that cost me a fish.
Oh, it did. And just stand there with your arms crossed and just watch your float, because we're fishing a single anchovy on the bottom. We're not going to constantly check the bait, maybe every 15 minutes or so. The other thing is, we did wade out up into where we're, chest high.
As far as we could go at times.
And so when you reach back to cast, you got your bobber, you got your dropper, you got your lead, you got a long leader. You're touching water almost, to cast. And it's pretty tough, and you whip that sucker out there, let it hit bottom, and then keep your bail open and back out of there and kind of stand in some shallower water at the edge of the sand. But it was a great concept. It worked. Cody got the first hookup.
Yeah, quick. Yeah,
didn't take long, right?
Yeah.
Some things we learned about this though is we're fishing the outgo in the morning, then we had that low slack, and then we fished that incoming. But in and of it all, especially the outgo, where we position the boat, where you drop the anchor, how much scope you let out in the rope to let the boat sit out there and float, because your water is draining out. Last thing we want is a 30-foot boat sitting high and dry on a sandbar because we weren't paying attention to the tide.
Yeah, so that was definitely, whether it was outgo or incoming, you really had to think about boat placement before you left the boat. Because especially down there, I mean, it wasn't a huge tide. I think it was, not even a minus, like a 0.1 or 0.2, but just down there, the water levels drop so much. I mean, you can be sitting in 4 feet of water, and 2 hours later, you're dry.
Well, and after late in the day on that incoming, late in the afternoon, we fished a lot longer than we thought we would, simply because the bite wasn't really that hot. We got into a good number of fish eventually. Had that one double at one point, but it was a head scratcher for a bit, trying to figure out why and where these things should be and where they should be biting. And we picked them off here and there, but it wasn't like a 30-fish day by any means.
No, and that's typical for that fishery. I mean, there's days you go down and the shallow flats are just absolutely on fire. Then there's days you go down and those fish are hanging in the ditches, where they're in 10, 12 feet of water. And you have to try to figure it out. For the concept we were doing, we had to have shallow water. I mean, we obviously can't wade in 10, 12 feet of water. So we were pretty limited to staying on the flat, even though I think it became pretty apparent that those fish were tending to stay in the ditch a little bit. So.
And keep in mind, we're trying to film a show, Sam is down there, Sam Pike, phenomenal videographer, does all Cody's work because, well, if you've watched this show, you understand why, but you and I are down there to get content for our show, and Cody is so gracious to allow us to do that and experience this type of stuff with him. Much like when we did the pheasant hunt deal, we both gain opportunity on that. So we went down there to do this. You're fighting a fish, I'm running our camera. I'm fighting a fish, you're running our camera. We're trying to just find balance. You'll see in the stuff that the content that we get at times, there's Sam in our way. It's like, Sam, get the hell out of the way. We're trying to shoot a show here. We keep in mind, again, this is Cody's world. This is Cody's show. He does a great job in the learning side of all these fisheries and things that he takes on. That's his point. Day One Outdoors does a phenomenal job with that. We're along as a guest. We also can grab content and utilize that to help educate you folks further. So
Cody's awesome about wanting to try out new ideas in new fisheries, and that's where this kind of came from. We kind of threw some ideas around and found a couple that stuck, and it was fun to go out and actually try to put those to work and see if they could be effective.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about what it is to get in the water and kind of how you make that whole thing work, fighting the sturgeon and whatnot. Before we get further into this, we're going to run a couple-minute video here. that we patched together with a little music. The only reason we put music to it is because the wind is so loud in our microphone that it's very tough to even hear us talking or saying anything.
And there might have been a few F-bombs in there.
There may have been a couple of surprising four-letter words being dropped here and there. But at the end of the day, it's just later in the afternoon, there's so much wind. This one in particular is, we got a couple shots of us fighting sturgeon in a boat, which is pretty cool. My favorite portion of it is this one particular sturgeon you had on in the water fighting that thing. It was a good sized fish. That was a 6-foot fish?
5.5, 6 foot.
Yeah. Very strong fish. And you did a nice job on that. We'll talk about what it's like to be in the water, thigh high or crotch high, fighting a 6-foot sturgeon in that particular element with the sand at your feet versus the sturdiness of a boat. So let's go ahead and pull it up, Dave. We'll run that sturgeon video. Don't go anywhere. Watch the video. We'll be right back here in studio in a couple minutes. Well, there you go, a little taste of Lower Columbia River sturgeon in the boat and out of the boat, in the water. We were talking as we're watching this here, that particular one that you're at the bow of the boat fighting that thing, where you were standing. Talk about the sand under your feet.
Right, we had pulled up on this flat, and what we thought was the flat.
Right.
Well, we hopped out of the boat and quickly realized we weren't actually on the flat. We were more on a ridge of sand on the way to the flat.
Right.
So when we first started fishing there, it was about, a little above the knees. And if you stepped off of that ridge, it was about your waist. Well, by the time we hook this fish and get this fish in, now the water is at probably my belly button on the ridge. And if I go 3 feet forward towards the boat or 3 feet away from the boat, it's up to my neck. And so trying to stay on that little ridge of sand while I got a 6-footer dragging me around, plus trying to balance the fact that he was under the anchor, over the anchor, under the anchor.
Yep.
made it a challenge. But
let's talk a little bit about if you're in the boat and like the one I'm fishing there, and you have the sturdiness of the boat.
Right.
We have the leverage of being able to lift the head.
You guys will notice on the video that, I mean, I call it high sticking, but I'm getting my hand way up on that rod and I'm really reaching, which all the rod manufacturers will tell you don't do that. But I'm in the water, and so my hand position just barely above the water. So to get leverage on that fish, to try to get him to come towards me so we can finish catching him, the only way I could get the leverage to lift his head up to be able to bring him towards me was the high stick him. In a boat, it's a different story, because now, let's say the floor of the boat is water level. Now my rod's 5-6 feet above that fish, you know, and then the length of the rod. So I'm able to just lift his head out of the water. But yeah, that was the fish probably got to a point where in a boat, he could have been landed maybe 3 or 4 minutes before it was at a point where he could be landed standing in the water. But, well, I mean, I've caught thousands of sturgeon, and that's the first time I've been in the water trying to fight one. So that was very interesting.
Your angle of leverage is completely different. The sand under your feet moves, and you got to be cognizant of where you're stepping. And like Barnum had mentioned, as we get done with that whole process and release that fish and get some photos and whatnot, and off they go. Strong creatures, man. You can't. They're hard to kill. But we got to get back to the boat. And the tide's coming in. And
the tide had come in to a point to where the path that we had taken to get off the boat is now too deep to get back on the boat. Luckily, the anchor rope is in a position where on that ridge of sand we could grab it and pull the boat to you. But even still, to climb back in that boat, I was up to the tip top of the waders. So and I'm not a tall guy, so
what? Come on. We are not advocating that everybody goes down there and now jumps in the water. We kept waiting for the Coast Guard to come by and tell us to get on board, and when we refused, we figured they were going to submit us to a 72-hour evaluation down at the site board.
If you sturgeon fish down there and you fish those flats, you know as the tide starts to drop, a lot of the time, because of the sandbars and the placement above you, the current really slows down on those flats. Now, when we first got out there, it was ripping, and we made the decision on the first spot, we're not getting out of the boat right here.
Good point,
Like, it's not safe.
No. It's like a river. Well, it is a river, but it was like a lot of current. It was moving going out, no doubt about it.
This is definitely not something where you just rip out there and jump out of the boat. And we did wear life preservers, too, just
we
in
did
case.
put our life vests on. We were like, well, in the event that you've all been there, when you're fishing just a normal-sized river and you step on that sandbar, you take that one step and all of a sudden that sand washes out from your feet. You're out there in the Lower Columbia. That's nothing to mess around with. You wear your PFD. You got them on when you get in the boat anyway, so just keep them on when you step out into the water.
We made the joke that if we were to call the Coast Guard and say, hey, this is what we're doing, more than likely they'd be like, no.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No, you're not. That's a horrible idea. Stay in the boat.
But as you mentioned, people were driving by honking and carrying on and probably thought we needed help, but we were all good. It was a great time. If you do decide to give that a try, you know, if you're a little bit adventurous, it's unique. It's a different perspective on fighting those fish.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Columbia River down there very well, and I can say that when the very first step off of the boat for the first time that morning, I was like, okay.
It seemed a little weird. It seemed a little counterintuitive.
So I made jokes, being that, you know, I used to shark fish, and I know from video that there's sharks in the waters near the Astoria Bridge at times. I mean, we seen a great white video not long ago. And we were kind of joking about that. Oh, well, we're going to get eaten by sharks in the Columbia River. Well, then later on in the day, we would have an experience with another sea mammal that would kind of make us realize that could be a reality.
There are other things in the water. Perfect segue, my friend. We got a little couple-minute video we're going to show you. We had an encounter. It could possibly be of a lifetime. There are those that choose to go out and whale watch and whatnot. I typically don't have time. I've always been fascinated by whales, especially orcas, but even gray whales, just because they're such huge, majestic, docile creatures that just float around and just, you know, they mean no harm to anybody typically. And this appeared to be a young gray whale just based on its size. Not that they were marine biologists or anything, but
and if that was a young one, I'd hate to be next to a full one.
Yeah, well, it didn't seem like a real huge one. And again, when you watch Cody's show, when we were still a ways back, keep in mind, this whale closed the distance on us. We moved up to the upper, above the bridge on the Lower Columbia there, and we're going to fish those sand flats out in the middle of the river above the bridge, and we saw this whale breach, and Cody cut the motors, and we just kind of hovered there for a while, and lo and behold, this guy came on over at some point to check us out. And Sam had the drone up, and the overhead footage is amazing, which you'll want to tune into Cody's show to catch that. But before you get that, we got a little bit of a snippet here just as the whale approached us, swam around our boat a couple times, and do I dare say, he chose, or she, to go directly under our boat twice. Yeah. Could have swam alongside of us, went under the boat. I had to edit out some of the language that was utilized. I also didn't want to embarrass our good buddy Cody because he screamed like a girl. But
you have to understand, when you watch this video, you can't really tell, but we were in under 5 feet of water.
And that thing was rolling around.
Yeah. This whale got underneath the boat without hitting the boat.
Pretty remarkable. We're going to go ahead and roll that video right now. Don't go anywhere. Watch this for about 2 minutes. We'll be right back. That, my friend, was our encounter above the bridge with other creatures that swim in the water.
Yeah.
Barnacle
so
bill.
Obviously shows you that water is brackish enough to support a whale.
Yeah.
It's obviously brackish enough to support a great white shark or a 7-gill shark or any other kind of shark that
California sea lions. And...
right. Yeah, we come to the show every week and talk about people getting attacked by bears and cougars and sea lions, and then, hey, let's hop out of the boat.
Let's hop out of the boat and swim with the whales. So there were multiple mammals in the water that day down the Lower Columbia.
Yeah.
And, it was a pretty awesome day. Again, if you think about doing that, going to fight sturgeon on their level down in the water, just use extreme caution, be very careful. Plan your day, understand your tides, wear your PFDs, don't take any risk or chances. So with that, before we get out of here, we mentioned it earlier, we will not have a show next week, July 4th. We want you all to get out and have a somewhat safe and insane 4th of July, right?
Well, we used to say that it was never 4th of July until somebody got the gas out.
Oh, Jesus.
You guys should probably not get the gas out because we started...
We talking regular gas or acetylene bombs?
No, just gasoline.
Right. So I'll be at work. Hopefully I won't have to respond to anybody blowing their fingers off and things like that. Usually a couple every year, so be careful out there with that. We will be back on July 11th. We will also then begin to heavily promote our next on-location opportunity, even if you're not a tuna fisherman or woman. and want to come down to a fantastic event just to take in the day, understand everything that's going on in the realm of tuna, begin to understand how much is involved there, the numbers of people that have taken this on, the size of boats, the entire event, the Deep Canyon Challenge down there out of El Waco, first leg of the OTC. And, you know, it generates a ton of money for the food bank. Del Stevens does a fantastic job, of which we will talk to him between now and then. We are planning to be down there doing a live show. Going to pin down exactly what day and time, but it's going to happen. We're going to do a full 2-hour show down there. We're going to have some amazing guests. Going to talk a lot about tuna and salmon fishing. It's going to be a really good time. I'm looking forward to that. That's towards the end of July, but we'll get more on that as we get back. So with that, it's about time to get on out of here. Enjoy your 4th of July. Have a great time. Get out and fish between now and the next time we're back in here in studio, July 11th, 6 p.m. right here on Facebook and our YouTube channel. And until then, go out, catch some fish, post your pics, post your videos. Help us keep you informed. Have a great evening.